Welcome to the Health Powered Productivity Podcast. I'm Marcey Rader, speaker, coach, and author, helping you reclaim your workday before it runs off with your sanity. Here, you'll learn sustainable habits to create a life you love without the overwhelm. Let's dive in. My husband often says he's in awe of how I stay connected to so many people, especially since I'm not on social media except for LinkedIn. And even there, it's just business. But enough people have asked about my process that I figured it was time for a podcast episode. But first, why connection matters. It matters for your career. Up to 80 to 85% of jobs are filled through networking, and about 70% of roles are never publicly posted. And more than half of U.S. workers say they landed their job through a personal or professional connection. Yet, only about 1 in 10 people actively nurture their network each week. And I would bet most of those people are business owners. Business owners are great at networking. But I have had so many coaching clients that for years, they've never done anything in their industry. They just, maybe network with the people at their company. That's it. And I recently had a friend that was let go from a company after 24 years. And she said, I haven't updated my LinkedIn profile in years. I hate LinkedIn. I don't go on there. But she also, hasn't gone to any networking events and things. And, it can be a challenge, but she's not alone. Most W-2 employees are not thinking about actively nurturing their network. It matters for your health. People with strong social ties are 50% more likely to live longer and happier compared to those without. And this is on par with risks like smoking. And adults with close friends are less likely to suffer depression, high blood pressure, or unhealthy weight. And people with no close friends are 4 times more likely to struggle with their mental health than those with 10 friends that they can name. And then lastly, walking and talking. I call them walkie-talkies. Walking meetings boost creativity by more than 80% compared to sitting indoors. They also reduce stress, improve mood, and strengthen bonds. And even 15 minutes of brisk walking a day can cut your risk of dying from heart-related causes by nearly 20%. Bottom line, connections are not optional. They're the backbone of health, happiness, and even success. Now, how I actually do it. I am very intentional about my time, who I spend it with, and how I book my schedule. The words mindful scheduling are on my whiteboard often as a focus for the week or the quarter. As a professional speaker, I travel quite a bit. And so my time needs to be very balanced. I don't want to feel overloaded or regretful about any invitation that I said yes to. I am an extrovert who is used to and needs a lot of privacy. So basically, I'm an ambivert. And, our lives are very full. My husband is a professional drummer. I'm going to his shows. We love going to other people's shows. I love to see plays and go to theater. We have family out of state. We have a very strong friend network. And Raleigh is a very social place for me as a business owner. So guardrails are really non-negotiable. Here are some that work for me. Phone or Zoom first. For nearly 12 years, if someone local wants to meet, we start with a call or a Zoom. The reason why is because a coffee date can eat up to 2 hours. By the time you drive there, pay $5 for your latte, sit down, and then you're there for 45 minutes to an hour. But if you're on the phone, you'll know in about 10 minutes if it's worthwhile. And sometimes that's all you need is 10 minutes, even when it is, And if you've ordered a latte and sat down, you're not going to get up and leave in 10 minutes. And so you might use a lot of time. And so I only skip the phone or Zoom first if it's a rock solid introduction and I'm already headed that way. and that's about 10% of the time. I will schedule coffee dates back to back, and I'll give like a window, and I'll always take my laptop to have in between. That way, if a coffee date ends early, then I can get some work done before the next person. I always schedule before I leave. It's not a let's do this again sometime. If it's somebody that's really important to me, I will schedule it. So with my branding friend, Annie Franceschi, who I've mentioned many times on this podcast, Greatest Story Creative, we met a couple of years ago, had lunch, and bounced ideas off of each other. And it was so valuable to both of us. We now meet quarterly as a standing ritual. And we just schedule it before we leave. And, would I like to have lunch with Annie more? Yeah. But we know that quarterly is doable for both of us. And with my friend Wendy, we schedule quarterly reflection meetings. She's also local, so we meet at a coffee shop. But we also schedule just time with each other every month. And we always book it before we leave each other. And we also will schedule time for the four of us. We're also couples friends about every 2 months or so. I have one friend that I have walked with for probably 15 or 16 years. We started out biking, then we moved to walking, and we've done this almost every month for 16 years. And if it's too cold to walk, then we have coffee together. But we book it, before we realized, we haven't booked for this month. It's right after we've walked. So walk or coffee. I offer people both. I meet on Fridays for face-to-face. Rarely do I meet somebody on other days of the week because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I reserve those for meetings and coaching. But Fridays are my days that locally I meet with people. And I do this so that I can do things back to back and save time. And I either meet at a coffee shop called Lucky Tree because there's a greenway there and we can walk around the Museum of Art, or we can have coffee as a rain date. I'll also meet people at Onstage State Park, and there's a loop that takes 45 to 60 minutes depending on how fast the person is. And there's been times where I have scheduled 3 people in a row to walk, and I give myself a 15-minute window, and I get in a lot of steps on those days. But it's so nice to not just be sitting and caffeinating. And then we're also connecting while we're getting exercise. And I really love doing walkie-talkies that way. Design days. So with Lisa, who is my BFF and also our RaderCo marketing specialist and support specialist, we will go to her family lake house to do business planning. And in 2-3 days, we will get in 6 to 15 miles of walking. We'll work a little bit on our laptops, and then we go for a walk. And sometimes we're also talking about work while we're walking. But your best ideas don't come from staring at an inbox. They come when you're moving. And speaking of moving and walking, I don't talk on the phone unless I'm walking. And for some people, it might even be annoying because AirPods are so good. They pick up so much noise. I know that sometimes when the birds are going crazy outside, my dad will say, "Are you standing in a birdhouse?" But I get in so many miles just talking to my family and walking. And I'm so thankful. My brother and my friend Lily Farrick, both of them, they'll say, "Want a walkie-talkie?" Or "I'm leaving to walk." And also my friend Sarah does this as well. That we just, we know that we're going to be walking. And speaking of Sarah, we have recurring on our calendar walkie-talkies every other Tuesday for 45 minutes. Now, we don't ever meet every other Tuesday. Sometimes we probably just make it like 1 in 4 times, but it still prevents months from slipping by without connection. And it's on the calendar, and it's so easy to just say, I can't do it today, instead of, it being 2 months and we realize we haven't spoken, or just trying to find the time. And then I also have just like quarterly rituals. I said I meet with my friend Annie every quarter. I also have another friend, Becky, that I have coffee or breakfast or lunch with once a quarter. She's our RaderCo crisis specialist. And I was telling someone once that, I always make time for Becky every quarter. She's my friend. And someone said, like, that sounds a little cold, like you're checking a box. And I said, well, Becky matters enough to be on my list. So if it's checking a box, then what's really happening is she made the checklist. It was just really funny to me that they saw it as that, when I see it as, no, she's actually on my list. Like I don't think I've let a quarter go by that I haven't done something with her since we were in COVID, since 2021. And I challenge anybody that, that they have a friend that they're like, oh yeah, I haven't missed these times with her. So it really is about perspective as well. And there, it's never too far out in the distance. Like long lead times are okay. And because I only do this on Fridays, for most people, not everyone, my business friends or my friendlies, or if it's a networking, it's mostly on Fridays. But my very, very close friends, then of course it can be Saturday, Sunday, whatever as well. But I just had someone this week ask about meeting me, and it's August. And I said, it's actually November. November is the next opening. Between my traveling and having other things that I already have scheduled and making sure that I don't feel overscheduled, November was the next opening. But even though it's far away, it ensures that we actually meet. And it also keeps me from feeling overscheduled. So my challenge to you is to book your next encounter before you end the current one. It's not, hey, we should do this again, because you already are. Thanks for tuning in to the Health Powered Productivity Podcast. If you got a great tip or insight, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend so more people can learn sustainable habits to create a life they love. Want more like this? Grab my book, Reclaim Your Workday, or connect at helloraderco.com.